The rain tapped softly against the tall glass windows, blurring the view of the glittering city beyond. Inside, the air was thick with unspoken words, a silence that weighed heavier than any argument. Claire stood still, her hands clenched together, searching for strength she didn't feel. Across from her, Adrian, the man she had trusted with every part of her heart, looked more like a stranger than the person she once believed would protect her dreams. His tailored suit, his sharp confidence, his cool tone, everything about him screamed success. Yet in that moment, success felt like a wall built to keep her out. "You deserve someone who can give you more," he said, his voice steady, almost rehearsed. "I can't offer you the life you want right now, my world. It's too complicated." Claire's lips trembled, but she refused to let the tears fall in front of him. She had given him her laughter, her late nights, her hope. And now, he was giving her nothing but an ending. She nodded slowly, her heart cracking with each second, but her pride forcing her to stay quiet. She turned to leave, her steps echoing through the room. Adrian didn't stop her. He didn't see the secret she carried. The small life already growing inside her. A reminder of love he had just thrown away. The door closed behind her with finality, leaving him with silence, and her with a hidden truth that would change both of their lives forever. The small town smelled of pine and ocean breeze, a place where strangers smiled without asking for anything in return. Claire arrived with nothing but a worn suitcase, a heart full of scars, and a secret that grew stronger with every passing day. She found a modest room above a bakery, where the scent of fresh bread greeted her each morning, reminding her that life could still be sweet, even after being broken. The nights were the hardest, her body changing, her emotions twisting between fear and hope. Alone, she would sit by the window, whispering promises to the child she carried, vowing to give them a life filled with love, even if she had to do it all on her own. When her twin boys arrived, the silence of her room was replaced by the cries of new life, cries that gave her purpose. Leo and Liam were tiny miracles, their blue eyes reflecting the man she once loved but would not speak of. She worked tirelessly, teaching at a local school by day, and holding her babies close each night, reminding herself that she had chosen courage over despair. Her neighbors admired her strength, but none of them knew the full story. To them, she was simply a young mother with an unshakable smile. Yet beneath that smile, she carried the ache of a love abandoned, and the quiet determination that one day, the world would know her children's worth. The years unfolded like pages in a book she never thought she'd have the courage to write. Claire's days became a rhythm of routine, morning walks with the boys, lessons in the classroom, and evenings where laughter echoed through her small home. Yet, beneath the quiet life she built, there was always a whisper of the past, a name she never spoke, a face that appeared in her children's eyes more with each passing year. Leo carried the same determined gaze, while Liam's smile mirrored the charm of a man who had once chosen ambition over love. Sometimes when the boys asked about their father, Claire would pause, her throat tightening, before offering them gentle words. "He was someone I loved, and someone I lost. But what matters is that you were found." Her resilience began to shine in ways even she hadn't expected. She organized school events, helped neighbors in need, and became known as the woman who never backed down from life's storms. People admired her, but they didn't know the battles she had fought in silence, the nights she cried quietly so her children would never see her broken. Every sacrifice was worth it the moment her boys wrapped their small arms around her, reminding her why she chose to fight. What she didn't know was that miles away, in the glittering towers of the city, Adrian's life, though filled with power and wealth, carried an emptiness that no deal or title could erase. Fate was slowly stitching their worlds back together, preparing for a collision neither of them expected. The city pulsed with noise and light, a world far removed from the quiet coastal town Claire had built her life in. She had never intended to return, but destiny has a way of leading us back to the places we thought we had left behind. An academic competition for her students brought her back into the heart of the business district, where towering glass buildings seemed to watch her every move. She walked with her boys at her side, their small hands holding tightly to hers, unaware of how close their lives were about to collide with the man whose shadow still lingered in her heart. Adrian was attending the event as a guest speaker, his presence drawing whispers and admiration as always. He had everything: wealth, influence, recognition. But the hollowness behind his polished smile had grown heavier with time. When he stepped onto the stage and his eyes swept across the audience, they locked on Claire. For a moment the room seemed to dissolve. The world, the cameras, the applause, none of it mattered. He saw her, and beside her, two boys whose faces carried the unmistakable mark of truth he had never known. Claire's breath caught, her heart racing, but she lifted her chin, refusing to falter. The boys, curious about the stranger staring so intently, tugged at her arm, asking questions she wasn't ready to answer. Adrian, meanwhile, felt the ground shift beneath him. The life he had built, the empire he had protected, it suddenly seemed fragile against the possibility that love, once lost, had returned in a form more powerful than he could ever imagine. The night after the event lingered in Adrian's mind, like a storm he couldn't escape. He had spoken to hundreds of audiences before, yet this time his voice had trembled, his thoughts scattered the moment he saw Claire. He couldn't forget the sight of the two boys standing beside her, boys who looked so much like him that denial was impossible. For hours he paced in his penthouse, questions clawing at his chest. Why hadn't she told him? Why had she vanished? And more painfully, why did he feel like the one who had been left behind, even though he was the one who had pushed her away? Claire, on the other hand, spent that evening in the quiet of her modest hotel room, her children asleep, their small breaths steady against the silence. She stared at their faces and whispered to herself, "They are my reason. My strength, my choice." Seeing Adrian again had torn open wounds she thought had healed, but she knew she couldn't allow the past to dictate the future. Still, a part of her couldn't deny the rush of emotions, anger, hurt, longing, all tangled together. Their inevitable confrontation came the next day. Adrian approached her cautiously, his usual confidence stripped away. "Claire," his voice cracked, a sound she had never heard from him before. She stood firm, her boys close to her side, her eyes unwavering. In that moment he realized the truth wasn't just about lost love. It was about the family he never knew he had, the life he had once turned away from, and the second chance he wasn't sure he deserved. The air between them carried a weight that neither words nor silence could soften. Adrian's gaze lingered on the boys, their curious eyes reflecting pieces of himself he had never known existed. For the first time in years, his carefully built walls cracked, leaving him vulnerable in a way that no boardroom or fortune ever had. "They're mine, aren't they?" he whispered, the question trembling at the edge of fear and hope. Claire's heart clenched, but she didn't look away. She had spent years building a world where she needed no one but her children, yet standing here, she knew the truth could no longer remain buried. "Yes," she answered softly, her voice steady but filled with the weight of everything unsaid. "They are yours, but they are also mine, and I raised them without you." The firmness in her tone struck him deeper than any accusation. He realized in that moment what he had truly lost, not just her love, but the countless firsts, the late-night stories, the birthdays and scraped knees, the laughter of two little souls who should have known their father's embrace. Adrian's eyes glistened, his breath unsteady. "I was blind," he admitted. "I thought power was everything. I see now it was nothing without you, without them." Claire studied him, searching for sincerity, for proof that the man before her was no longer the same one who had once chosen ambition over love. The boys tugged at her hands, looking up with innocent curiosity. And in that moment, she realized this reunion wasn't just about the past. It was about the future. A future where forgiveness might heal, where resilience might lead to redemption, and where brokenness could give birth to something stronger than either of them had ever known.